Mike Ryan is troubling me because his obsession with racing that's made an appearance out of nowhere when we are talking basketball and hockey, and he's snorting enough adrenaline for everybody around here. But Mike Ryan is somebody who will get obsessed with something, and then he's on the train listening to 4 Toronto Maple Leaf podcasts. And what he's doing with NASCAR right now, out of nowhere.
What do you like there, Berube?
Out of nowhere, what he is doing with NASCAR, where he's showing me his arm today, and it's got goosebumps on it because of something that
I saw
happening.
a fan-made trailer for an Intimidator 4-part docu-series that is going to Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, they're in the live sports game, have been in for a long time. Next year, they get a NASCAR package, and to celebrate this, they've announced a 4-part series on the greatest racer of all time, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in my opinion, greatest character in the history of racing. And yeah, I got goosebumps watching what I'm pretty sure is just a fan-made trailer because I'm reliving all these great moments. I used to really like NASCAR when I was a youth growing up, seeing the Intimidator black number 3 against a rainbow-colored DuPont of Jeff Gordon. And that was a golden era. And also, I've just been reliving all these great race finishes because when it comes to play-by-play, you can't really get much better play-by-play than you get with NASCAR. So I'm reliving all these things. I'm watching it through a child's eyes. And I love NASCAR racing. They've been electric finishes. What started as a bit to rebel against Formula One because I just don't get it, and me just like doubling down on what was a fake gearhead type of character has become a very real affinity for the motorsport. And now I'm really into Kyle Larson because he had the greatest finish to a race, the closest finish to a race in NASCAR history.
You and your wife jumping up and down on the couch.
Great moment. It was a great moment. It was electric. It also felt like America. And Kyle Larson is doing what few have tried to do before. I don't know if you know this, Dan. Bush and Stewart had done it prior. Only Tony Stewart was the only one that actually finished all the miles in there. But Kyle Larson, who Marty Smith told me a couple weeks ago, is the greatest living driver on the planet. More talented than Max Verstappen. That dude knows racing. But I was pretty shocked to hear that. How could a stock car driver be considered here? Well, he's racing in the Indy 500. And on the same day, he's traveling to Charlotte to participate in his NASCAR race. It's a feat that very few have even attempted, and even fewer have actually pulled off. And he's not had a lot of time to practice. These IndyCar race car drivers, that 10,000 hours, the whole deal. His practices are getting range shortened, and they've asked IndyCar drivers about Kyle Larson because they've seen these novelty acts come and go. He's got the respect of everybody. I would really love to talk to Kyle Larson about this because if that can't get you in, that one singular day, then motorsports is not for you. And I know largely it is not for our audience. But the theater, the drama, and the actual achievement of this is amazing.
Well, you say motorsports is not for our audience, and what I would say to you is prepare, okay? Prepare, because of what happened with F1 and Netflix and what is happening with sports and streaming right now, because this is from Mike Florio. To see every game in the 2024 NFL regular season, you'll need NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, Sunday Ticket, NFL Network, ESPN, ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime, Peacock, and Netflix. And
don't forget, you'll actually need cable to really consume everything because you need those credentials to log into a lot of those apps.
Also, I would say to you, watch Netflix pouring a lot of money. 10-part documentary on Jerry Jones. Really excessive. Really excessive. Will Ferrell doing a golf thing on Netflix. Everyone is rushing to sports. I don't believe Amazon has any chance of losing out on all NBA stuff because Amazon's got the most money, and I'm assuming that they're going to start getting all sorts of stuff, and then we'll need the programming that supports all the stuff they have because I'm guessing if they're competing with Netflix, they're going to start throwing all that money at those places.
I don't know if it's thanks to companies like DraftKings at legal sports betting, but it does, or the pandemic where everybody was just so hungry for anything that you had Korean baseball have a moment. But sports are certainly on the rise. The viewing, the ratings are all up. And it's why I'm partly really concerned about what's going on with the NBA in terms of a national scope. I know regional sports ratings tell a different story, But I would be really concerned if I were Adam Silver. And it doesn't seem to really matter because they're going to set a new high watermark when it comes to rights anyway.
Let's get an expert on this subject in here. David Samson, his podcast is Nothing Personal. And if you want to be super informed on these kinds of things, I don't believe there's anyone doing it better in sports business. So tell us what Goodell is doing here, because both of these things going on in sports with football and basketball is fascinating. Netflix deal tells you that football is still king. How?
Well, it tells me that there's another bidder for the rights and that Goodell's willing to play football on any day of the week, and he's willing to not care about player safety. And he can claim he does all he wants, but he wants games whenever he can. So he has inventory to sell whenever he can. And he wants to widen the lead that he has over the other leagues. He wants to be the king of everything, and good for him. I think it comes at the expense of the consumer, but guess what? Every company is trying to raise their prices and get you to spend more for fewer chips in the bag. That is as old as capitalism. So sports is just catching on and trying to make owners happy. And the reason they're doing it, Dan, is that the cost of entry has gone up so much. And we talk about this on the Sporting Class. There's an episode coming out with John Skipper and Pablo Torre, I hope tomorrow. And one of the things we talk about is how interesting it is when you spend $10 million on a sports team, it's okay if you're not getting every nickel from the consumer. When you spend $6 billion, you got to start finding new ways to make money.